Have you ever felt stuck in your growth journey, wondering how to build resilience in the face of challenges?
Or maybe you're looking to shift your mindset and unlock your full potential.
Well, if you said yes, then you are in the right place.
Welcome to the Stretch Zone. I'm Hannah.
And I am Feds.
And here we explore self-development, nurture resilience, and embrace the mindset shifts that help you grow beyond your limits. Hello and welcome to a very exciting episode of The Stretch Zone. We have a wonderful guest. We've got Lauren and, of course, my delightful co-host Feds in today. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
So we're changing things up a little bit for today's podcast. We thought that maybe the listeners might like to hear another voice in the room. For a change, other than just Feds and I. And we've got Lauren, who I know, being one of my beautiful clients, who has somehow agreed to talk to us about her experience of moving overseas. So welcome, Lauren. It is so fabulous to have you here. Tell us, where are you in the world right now?
I am in Andorra. Yes, a principality in Europe.
And I have to admit, I had to Google where Andorra was the first time you ever told me that you were thinking of moving to Andorra. I'd heard of it, but I have to say I had no idea exactly where it was in Europe. Also, I had to do that for where I live now in Atlanta, Georgia. So I think I thought Atlanta was the same as Atlantic City, and had no clue that there was two different places, Atlanta and Atlantic City, in the US. So that's
very different.
And where did you move from?
I'm from the UK originally.
Yes. And whereabouts in the UK are you from? I'm
from Essex, not far from London.
Yes, the beautiful Essex. So nice. And yeah, we met much earlier this year. I can't even remember. When was it? Was it February? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it last year?
No, it was this year. It was definitely this year. But I seem to remember it being later than February. No, maybe you're right.
I think it was in February. And can you remember roughly where you were at in the whole relocation situation when we got together?
Gosh. Well, I definitely wasn't settled anywhere I was. I seem to remember not being here full time. I think I was back and forth for a while, like kind of spending a couple of weeks in the UK and then I would come here. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think I was officially here until about April time. But it's all been a bit.
That sounds about right, because I remember all of a sudden, I think we had a little mini break, and all of a sudden, the next time I spoke to you, you'd just gone and done it. The full-time move. So when Laura and I first met, it was really about when you should move, how that might look, and the transition of moving from the UK to living full-time in Andorra. And at that time, we were just discussing all of the options, the possibilities, and the emotional load that comes with it all. And can you remember now, looking back, that moment that you decided to make the move?
So this is quite a funny story, actually, because you're so right. I remember now, having our coaching call, and it was like, "Oh, I've moved," because so middle of the year, April time, I kind of at that point was getting fed up of constantly talking about it because I'd spent literally so long talking about it, and I basically just decided I was kind of coming and going once a month anyway. And then when I got here in April, I basically didn't make a big thing about it. I just thought, this is me. I'm just going to see how long I'll last. I will not make any plans of going back to the UK, and I'll basically just see how I get on. And if I felt like I wanted to go back for any reason, then I would. And even my parents at the time were kind of expecting me to be back. And it was quite a impulsive decision. But it was much just like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And it was very much needed at the time because, yeah, I couldn't make my mind up. I knew what I needed, what I wanted to do, but I wasn't willing to do it. So I was just like, I just need to go, basically, and throw myself in the deep end at that point.
That's such a
I feel
cool
like,
story.
yeah, it sounds very familiar. I mean, I think like as we've all moved abroad, I think it's a moment that I definitely went through that as well, so I can relate. So I'm curious, like in when was the moment when you actually realized like this is not a holiday? Like this is my life now. I've made the decision and this is it. Like what happened?
Yeah, so when I first came over, like I've always been such a sociable person anyway. So I kind of treated it a bit like, oh, this is nothing new. Like I can just go make new friends. And, I am fortunate enough that there are other British girls here, thankfully. So there is some common ground with that. But I think there was quite a long time where I look back and think I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I was kind of just doing things for the sake of doing it. So like I would meet up and see people that were here and like try and make friends and everything else. But I guess when I first came and made those friends, it did very much feel like this is enjoyable, this is fun. Like we live in a really pretty part of the world. Like you do just kind of forget that this is a lifestyle at that point. And then I think it wasn't until a couple of months after that where various things start to change because you start to realize that first of all you can't rely on everyone being here at once because people travel all over. So it was when like they started leaving and I was here by myself and realizing, okay, I can't just rely on having those friends here. I have to kind of be by myself. I think it was definitely in the times when I was by myself where I realized when I was with other people I was kind of just lost in that. But the days when I was on my own was when it kind of hit me like, okay, now you need to find things to do and you need to get yourself set up. So that was definitely a big change.
I think that like I've never been to Andorra, and I mean I barely know where it is. But I guess when I moved to London and I told people, "Oh, I'm moving to London," people knew more or less what lifestyle would have been. Like it's a big city, well, like people can imagine, right? But what is life like in Andorra? Like how? 'Cause I guess most people have no idea. So how is it?
Yeah. So Andorra is a really, really beautiful part of the world. It's in the Pyrenees. So you're in a mountain range, basically. So you're at altitude all the time. There's different valleys. So there's more of like an English side to it, but then there's another very like native speaking part where like you go there and no one really speaks English. The local language is Catalan. So that's a version of Spanish that they're almost very traditional about. So you can get by with knowing a bit of Spanish, but they do prefer if you speak Catalan. It's a really good place for athletes. It's like a sport mania. Like there's constantly like marathon runners, triathletes, like all sorts of really, really athletic people because it's like a training ground basically. So like having the roads are really good for like cycling and running, and there's just basically it's for people that what come with like an ambition and they want to maximize it by being in a place that facilitates that really. So yeah, it's a really lovely part of the world. I'm very grateful to be living here. I'm sure there's worse places to live, so it's very, very nice.
So is it as glamorous as you've just made it almost sound? If I was to look at your Instagram page, how would that look?
So yeah, the actual landscape is just very aesthetically pleasing. Especially at the minute, like it's just started snowing and yeah, like visually amazing. And there's been many times since I've lived here actually where I've joined like meetings and calls and things, and people have given that example of how would you feel if you lived here, and it's like a picture of a mountain and everyone's reaction peaceful and harmony and all of these things. Visually it looks amazing, and it is, but there's a whole different side to it that people don't get if you've lived here, as in it's quite isolating, it's quite lonely, you know, like for example, if we're talking about London, Feds, like London is like the complete opposite, like could not be the furthest from Andorra. Like London's busy all the time, constantly people everywhere, like go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Andorra is like very, yeah, not a lot around, lots of sheep, lots of cows, horses, lots of farmers. Yeah, it's just a very different part of the world. I mean, there is a town centre that has like some shops, so there are parts that are built up, but yeah, I think the side that Instagram doesn't show is the kind of isolating parts of it. You know, you see the pictures of you in the mountains and you like going on hikes, and that is the amazing part. Hikes are really good here. But yeah, I suppose when you're by yourself, for example, like I said, it's that side of it where you're like, you are in the middle of nowhere, you're not close to many people. So yeah.
Yeah, and I remember some of the things that we used to speak about a little bit when you first moved out was this shock of isolation. You've actually moved to be living with your partner, but your partner's not always there 100%. So yes, you've got him there, but then you've got big periods of time where he's not there. And as you've mentioned, the really tricky thing is that the local people who are also in a very similar situation, the expat group, right? Because it's quite a strong expat kind of group of people that live there. They are coming and going so much as well. So I'm just curious, sort of, then how did you learn to navigate that sudden isolation? And do you feel like that's something that you could talk to us about? Because I actually think even moving to a big crazy city like London can be incredibly isolating, and I think it's something that all of our listeners can relate to, is that immediate isolation. You just have different layers of more isolation probably than most.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not to say being in a big city doesn't mean that you can be lonely. And I think that's also like a juxtaposition, because there are many people that live in big cities that say they're lonely. So it's not saying like, oh, they don't have the right to be lonely because there's loads of people.
No.
It's just, I think, honestly, it's something I'm still navigating. I think in terms of like the unpredictability, that is definitely a component that can be challenging at times, because you know this more than anyone, Hannah, but my biggest thing when I first came was like, right, I'm going to get a routine. If I can just get a routine, if I can just do the same thing, for a few days, if I can build a bit of momentum, that was all I was focused on. And I quickly realized that was quite challenging to get a routine and to do the same thing every day, because things would change, plans would come up, and everything would just kind of go south every time you wanted to sort of stick to it.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of friends and having people around you and then them leaving, I think the brutal, honest part of it is you have to find almost contentment within yourself, as hard as that can be when you are by yourself. You have to get really comfortable with being by yourself, and that doesn't come naturally to loads. We are, human nature. We want company, but I think that's definitely something we work on and we build on. But yeah, it's kind of that, as cringy as it sounds, like being your best friend, like kind of being there for yourself. And you can have other people around you and have some great times, but it needs to be where they leave and then you're still okay without them not being there. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were talking about London and the fact that you can feel lonely, definitely, I think it's a different kind of loneliness. I mean, you can feel lonely in an isolated place. You can feel lonely in a place full of people. It's really the attitude, like how we adapt as well. Because of course, when you move there, everything is new. The language is new. The people are new. The geography of the place is new. Like you have to adapt to so many different things that it can be overwhelming in a small place, in a big place. And now, knowing what you know now, because of course you've been there for a while and you are navigating all of these things. But what would you say to your past self? You know, if you could write a letter to your past self before you moved, is there one thing or more than one thing that you would tell yourself?
I think I would say to expect the unexpected, in terms of like, just don't get a preconceived idea of what you're going to think and feel. Just allow yourself to think and feel anything. Because I think it's so easy to go into a situation, you know, from both sides of it, right? Whether you're like, nope, like I've 100% nailed it. This is exactly what I want to do, really confident, and you know, this is what I want to do with my life, and that's great. Or the other side of it where you're like, oh, I don't feel quite so confident and I'm kind of tiptoeing and I'm not sure. Either side, I think there are going to be so many hurdles and barriers to that on along the way. Like, it's not to say that like, oh, I've had a really good week, like that's great and that is amazing, but the following week might not be as good, or you might have a day that you're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it today. And I think in terms of the time that I've been there, that's something that I've been here. That's something that's come up recently, because there's a few new girls that have come, and I've reached out to them, you know, as you would want, you know, I would have wanted someone to reach out to me and sort of say like, oh, like, how are you getting on? And when they asked me how long I'd been here, and I said, oh yeah, since April, that to me feels like crazy in that time. But I look at it and I would sort of say to myself, just relax, don't try and micromanage it, because when I micromanage it, you're getting too caught up in trying to feel a certain way in an experience that you've never been in before. Like, you've never experienced it, you don't know what you're going to feel. And yeah, things come in phases as well. Like, I for sure go through so many, like I'll have like a month where I'm like, oh, I love Andorra, Andorra's amazing, and then the next month I'll be like, not really feeling it. Like, so yeah, just kind of keeping that sort of like idea that you're gonna just feel how you're gonna feel, and that's okay, really.
Yeah, I think that just brought up a memory for me. When I was living in Vietnam, we would often get together with other non-Vietnamese, and on any particular day, someone would just say, and please forgive me, anyone who's Vietnamese that's listening to this, we would say, I'm having an I hate Vietnam day today. And it would be because of just things not going our way, being misunderstood, or we're misunderstanding, actually often, not us being misunderstood, but we're misunderstanding situations. And yeah, it would just be like, okay, we all know that we're going through this. It's a day that just feels really tough today, and then you pass through it. I'm wondering whether you can sit back and look at what strengths that you've actually noticed in yourself since doing this big move.
Yeah, I think you do learn a lot about yourself as a person. You take yourself out of your comfort zone and you almost like show yourself. Like, it's less about telling yourself, it's more about like showing yourself. Like, there's situations that you're in that you're like, beforehand, or if you thought about that situation, you would be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But when you're in it, like, you do it and you adapt. And I think for me, I've learned so much more about myself than I have in any other experience I've ever been in. I think because I've had to kind of, I've had to adapt. I've had no other choice, really. And I don't know if you know this, Hannah, but the very, very first time, so I'm obviously moved in April, and then I think you probably knew this on the narrative of that sort of time that we were having sessions, but my partner, so he found out the day that he left that he was leaving. So that I'd never been on my own here before at all. And he rang me up and was like, I'm going to the airport, I've got to go. And I was on my own for like a week for the first time. And that, to me, almost like that experience actually really helped, because it, like I said, expect the unexpected. it helped me adapt because I was like, okay, now I have to be by myself. And before that, I was kind of putting it off. So things happen, and you get through it. And you might not think that you can, but you do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected. I like that. And I think that speaks really true to everyone's living overseas experience or moving to a new place. And I love that narrative that basically you've shown yourself that you're capable. You haven't just told yourself that you can do something. You've actually now lived through experiences that have proven that you are able to adapt. And I'm really looking at my history of moving around and thinking, yeah, it is about really showing up for yourself and showing yourself we're capable.
You were talking about Vietnam. I have I hate Italy days too.
Yeah, I know you do.
I'm Italian, so
yeah, you can say it more than I should about Vietnam.
I mean, this is something that happens even in your home country.
Yep.
So, especially if you've lived abroad for a very long time, like it's you start seeing things that you've never noticed before. But I'm curious, you've spent some time there, as we said, and so you've had situations where you realize that you could overcome things that you never thought you could. Like, do you have when you feel like you feel a bit blue, maybe you have days when you're not so happy, like, do you have any rituals? Do you have things that bring you joy? Like what? Because I remember when I was in London, I used to go to the British museums when I had sad days. I was like, what the heck am I doing here? And that would remind me, I was like, okay, I'm here because of this as well. So, like, what do you do when you feel like that?
I think I try my absolute hardest not to like mope. I try and do something productive because I think it's quite easy to fall into that trap of just being like, right, I feel like this, and almost like letting your feelings dictate your day. I think the biggest thing for me that makes me feel empowered is I'm not sure if that's what you were getting at there, but you mentioned like how like why you're here. I don't know. I'm just paraphrasing now, but for me, it's like kind of about okay, I'm here for myself as well. And it's doing something for that purpose. So whether it be like, right, I'm going to go, so I'm studying at the moment and I'll like specifically do that for the purposes of myself, or go do exercise is a big one. Anything that really is just doing something for yourself. I mean, it doesn't look the same every day. I just go through some phases that I randomly just go do a workout on the TV or go on a run, or it's very different. It's not like one specific thing, but yeah, I think it's kind of that picking yourself back up of like, right, okay, like also just a bit of gratitude because it is tough, but also I try and think of the gratitude that there are some people in unfortunately a lot worse living conditions. I'm very fortunate. So even though it might be quite isolating and tough, like there's worse positions to be in. So almost like making the best of that situation, really, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does. And it's interesting, isn't it, how I feel like we're taught that you should have a one thing that kind of is always the cure, right, to a certain feeling. I wonder if, Instagram and TikTok has kind of made us believe that if we just do these three things every day, our life will be transformed. And the reality of it is that actually some days doing a workout on the TV is what you need. Some days it's cooking. Some days it's cleaning the toilet. Some days it's going for a hike. That's actually the reality. It's not that there's always one thing that will instantly make us feel better. There's going to be certain things that will make us feel worse, like usually scrolling on Instagram. But there are a whole sort of mixture of things. And I think sometimes we get also a little stuck on, why am I not feeling better? Because I am doing these 3 things every day, and it's not curing how I feel either. So it was good to hear you sort of say, you know what, there isn't one size fits all. It's actually some days I've done this, some days I've done that. Would you mind if I ask a little bit about moving in with your partner? Because I know that was the first time for you, and Feds and I both have experience of moving in for the first time with our partners, and then having to move around the world with our partners. And what was it like, I guess, co-inhabiting together for the first time without going into too much detail?
No, yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. I think, do you know what it was for me? Is it was really eye-opening, actually, because I have lived on my own. I lived with flatmates. So when I went to uni, I cohabited, if you will, with other people. And so I'm kind of used to it's different with a partner, obviously, but in terms of like other people's like ways of living, I would say I'm quite robust. So like when people have their differences, I like almost have experience in the past of like kind of chatting about those things, and yeah, I think that's a big part of moving in together is those differences that come up with 2 people living in the same space. For me, I very much had to just get to the point where I was like not getting too bogged down by perfectionism, because that is such a big thing. It's such a like, okay, we're going to move in together, and every single day is just going to be like amazing, and we're going to cook together, eat together, and like almost that like picture perfect version of how things are when people talk about living with their partners. And for me, I almost just didn't feel, I don't know, it was a really weird one because it was almost a byproduct of the moving abroad. So the moving abroad kind of took over my thought process. And then the fact that we were living together, because he is away a lot, he's away most of the time, that was kind of something that took a back seat in terms of like, oh, like we're actually living together here, because I was so fixated on the move and everything else. But yeah, for sure, it was letting go of that, how I ought things to be, and just kind of adapted, like I've said before. But I think a lot of adapting had to be made on my part, because I was kind of moving into my partner's space. So that was a hard challenge for me to sort of navigate. Okay, like because he was living here before I was. So like I was having to navigate being in his space and then making that work. So, but yeah, just kind of seeing how it went. I wasn't really trying to, well, after a bit, when I came to that conclusion, I wasn't trying to make it be a certain way. So I think that's the main thing. Really.
Yeah, having to let go of any expectations.
Yes, for sure. Expectations go out the window. Don't even bother. So, yeah.
It takes a little bit of time, though, I think, because, I mean, to be honest, I think social media don't really help with this kind of stuff, because I've seen plenty of profiles of people, even people who haven't moved anywhere, and it always feels like they have this perfect life in a couple, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's not like that. I like that. That's not like that. Like I love my partner. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it happens that sometimes it really pisses me off, and it's normal, And that's something that if you just stick to what you see on social media, normally you don't see that. It seems that all of these people have this glossy lifestyle, and I'm like, how do they live like that? That's just not feasible, And especially because you moved abroad and you moved in with your partner. If someone listening is about to move abroad with their partner, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think, the first one that we mentioned there is just drop all expectations, drop what you think it's going to be like, and just keep a really open mind. Just be flexible as well, because it's like anything. If you bring 2 individual people that have their own like specific things that they do or habits or whatever, and you put them in a room, of course there's going to be some differences. And I guess my best advice would be just to also maintain your individuality as well, because you don't have to, just because you move in with that person doesn't mean you have to like suffocate each other and just like engulf in their life. It's like, obviously it does take a long time. It's not like the day you move everything's sorted, and what we like to call teething problems, Hannah, they definitely come out as you go along. But yeah, I just think having a bit of an open mind and also being willing to communicate is a massive one as well, especially when you're living abroad, because there are going to be days that are tough, and if you can't communicate those tough days to your partner, and not saying your partner has to be who you go to for everything, but if you've not got a bit of a support system, then I can imagine that would be quite tough. So yeah, kind of maintaining that and probably communicating a little bit before, just to be like, you know, this might be a process for us. And yeah, it's different for every couple, isn't it? Not every relationship is the same, but anything to do with relationships on social media are absolutely a no for me. I'm just like, well, that's just rubbish. Don't even buy into it anymore. So yeah.
It was really interesting to see you going through the beginning of moving in with your partner and moving in with them because they were already overseas and you've moved because of them. And you know, I've been there. I met my husband overseas, but I very quickly moved into his place when we first met. And the whole watching you figure out that the communication. And I do think that the situations that we've put ourselves in means that as a couple, you are 100% forced to communicate, because yes, there are times when we're incredibly isolated in a couple situation, unlike other relationships where maybe you've, you know, met them and you're from the same city. You have much more space in those kind of relationships, whereas we don't. So it was really fabulous to watch you navigate that time from a slightly older person who had seen it before. And I was always so impressed, like listening to you navigate the really challenging moments that come up, which are totally inevitable and still happen, by the way, in my many years of experience of living overseas with my husband. So it will never end. But it was really great to watch how you navigated it. And it really showed that your ability to adapt and your communication was so key. And luckily, both of you were quite on board with being able to have open communication. And I guess one of the last questions I want to ask here, and you mentioned it, was to keep your individuality. And that was tough initially, I know, and it was something you were really fighting for. Tell us what's on the horizon right now. I know that you've just started doing something just for you right now. You don't have to give us all the details, but how are you keeping your individuality and making sure that it's not all about your partner?
Yeah, so my end goal is to create a business for myself. I'm not entirely sure what that is going to entail, but I am really passionate about mental health. So I'm studying a master's in mental health. So the idea is I'd like to do my own business and help other people, and yeah, just something for me really. And in terms of the individuality, I have very much noticed a bit of a shift in myself. I'm hoping 2026 is going to be more me focused. And that's what I'm kind of looking towards really, is like planning next year, but planning next year in the way that I want to, rather than just letting life play out, which I feel like happened a lot this year because I wasn't really sure what I was actually doing. So yeah, I guess just trying to maintain that focus really of like what's the best for me in this given situation, and just trying to adapt as much as I can. So yeah. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
It sounds exciting, yeah. I feel excited for you, honestly.
Totally. So watch this space with what Lauren creates. Thank you so much for your time today, Lauren. It's been really, really awesome. Just hearing about your lived experiences, and something that hopefully we can bring a little bit more to our listeners. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And of course, if anyone is listening and is going through a similar situations, let us know. You can always find us on Instagram and YouTube at stretchzone_podcast. And yeah, just let us know. We are always curious to hear from you guys. Thank you, Lauren. It was great to talk to you today. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks, guys. Ciao for now. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Wrapping up today's episode, remember, you don't have to face change alone.
If you'd like to connect or learn more about working with us individually, reach out to us through our Instagram account at thestretchzone_podcast, or find our emails in the footnotes to this episode. We're here to support you on your journey, each in your own way.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Stretch Zone. If today's discussion resonated with you, remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with anyone who might benefit. Until next time, keep stretching beyond your comfort zone.